Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Basic. Today, you guys, we're going to look at dividing fractions. And the good news is when we divide fractions, actually all we're going to do is multiply fractions. So we've already done this. It's just a matter of what's called inverting a fraction. That means flipping it over. Okay, so let's get started here. We'll do a couple examples. So if we have 1/5 divided by 2/3. What we're going to do with the second fraction is called inverting, and all that means is flipping it over. So all we're going to do for this one is we're going to put the 3 on top and the 2 on the bottom, and then we turn that into a multiplication problem. So it's going to be 1/5 times 3/2, and then you just do the straight multiplication problem. The 1 times a 3 is a 3, and 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, so it's just the thing we have to worry about is the inversion, is what's called. That just means flipping a fraction over. We put the denominator, in this case it was a 3, in the numerator spot, and then put the 2, which was the top, into the bottom. So we're just flipping the second fraction over, and that's called inverting fractions. Okay, let's do another one. So if we have 1/3 divided by 3, over 4, so the inversion means we're just going to flip this. So then it becomes 4/3. And then we just do our straight multiplication problem. Remember to switch it to a multiplication. Then it'd be 1/3 times 4/3, and that's going to be 4/9. Okay, so it's just pretty straightforward. Just remember, whenever you see a fraction as division problem, that what we're going to do is flip the second fraction and multiply instead of divide. So if we had 3/10 times 2/3, remember, we're going to flip this second fraction. We're going to make it a 3/2, and then this is supposed to be division. I already flipped it, and then it's going to be a multiplication problem. So it's going to be 3/10 times 3/2, and then you're going to have 9/20. So really all it is flipping the second fraction and turning it into a multiplication problem. Let's do one more here. If we have like 2/7 times, we'll say 4/5. And I keep doing multiplication because I'm getting ahead of myself. So it's a division. 2/7 divided by 4/5. So you're going to say, oh, all we're going to do is 2/7. I'm going to change the division to multiplication. And I'm going to flip this one. So now it's going to be 5/4. And then you get 10/28. Okay. So when we do division problems of fractions, all it means is we're going to turn into multiplication 2 steps. So for division of fractions, first thing you do, change the division to multiplication. And the second is we invert or flip second fraction. So those are the 2 steps for division of fractions. Change the division to multiplication, and then you flip the second fraction. Okay, we'll do one more here. So 1/5 divided by 2/7. So the first step is we're going to change, it's going to be 1/5 times. So we're changing this to multiplication. And then we're going to flip the second fraction. So that's going to be, instead of 2/7, it's 7/2. And then we're going to get 7/10. So it's basically just a two-step process. Change division symbol to multiplication, and then we're going to flip the second fraction. Okay. One last thing I want to do today, I want to practice, and I'll give you some of this, reducing fractions. Okay. So we kind of did that yesterday with the greatest common factor. So if you see a fraction, if you see 8/20, it should clue you off that those are two even numbers. So we know at least 2 is going to go into them. But in this case, we know 4 also will go into 8 and 20. So how many times does 4 go into 8? It goes 2 times. And how many times does 4 go into 20? 5 times. So 8/20 reduced is 2/5. But you guys, if you couldn't figure out the 4 and we just did 2, if we have 8/20, you're going to say, I know 2 goes into 4, or 2 goes into 8 4 times, then 2 goes into 20 10 times. But once again, we still have 2 even numbers, so we know 2 will go back into 4 2 times. It also goes into 5. So we get 2/5 either way, but if you're able to do the bigger number, what you're going to do is you're going to cut out this step, okay? So, and if we did the factors of 8, just if we did 8, we know 1 goes into 8, 2 goes into 8, 4 goes into 8, and 8 goes into 8. And for 20, we know it's 1, 2. We know 3 doesn't go into it. 4, 5. We know 10 goes into it, and 20 goes into it. So if we did it that way, we could see, we're like, oh, 4 is the biggest number that goes into both of those. So I'm going to take 4 out of the 8 and 4 out of the 20, and that's how I get the 2/5. Let's do another one here. If we have 60/100, hopefully you realize 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So 10 might be a good number, but there's actually a number bigger than 20. But so if we do, and that would be 20. So this would be 20 would go into 60 3 times, and it would go into 100 5 times. But if you couldn't get the 20 and you just got the 10s, you're going to go, oh, 10 goes into 60 6 times, and 10 goes into 100 10 times. But then you're going to realize, well, I still have 2 even numbers, and I know 2 goes into both those. So if you couldn't get the 20, you're going to get the 10, but you're going to have to do one more step. That's why we try to find the greatest common factor, because it's going to save you one step reducing. But if you can't, do what you know goes into it and just keep working until you know that fraction can't go any smaller when you get it down to like 2 prime numbers. Okay, let's do another one here. If we do 12/27, let's do the factors of 12, just so we're clear here. So for 12, we know 1 goes into 12, 2 goes into 12, 3 goes into 12, 4 goes into 12, 6 goes into 12, and 12 goes into 12. Then for 27, we know 1 goes into 27, 2 doesn't, because 2 is an even number. We know 3 goes into it. 4 won't, 5 won't, 6 won't, 7 won't, 8 won't, 9 will, because 3 times 9 is 27. Then we have 27. So if we look here at the 27, we're going to see, oh, the greatest common factor is 3. And I'm going to take 3 out of both of those. So that's going to become 4/9. Because 3 would go into 12 4 times, and 3 goes into 27 9 times. Okay. We'll do one more here. Let's do 25/35. This one, hopefully you're familiar with your 5s. If you go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, we're going to know 5 is basically the greatest common factor of both 25 and 35. And we're going to look and go, okay, so 5 goes into 25 5 times, then it goes into 35 7 times. This fraction reduced is 5/7. Okay, so both those are going to kind of be important when we're working with fractions. So a lot of times they want you to simplify in the simplest terms, and knowing the greatest common factor is going to be helpful. Okay, so I'm going to post some reducing fractions. I'll also post some of the dividing fractions. Just remember, we divide to the 2 simple steps. We're going to change the division symbol to a multiplication symbol, and then we're going to invert or flip the second fraction. Just those 2 steps. Whenever you see a fraction problem that's division, you're going to say, oh, I just need to do 2 things. I have to change it to a multiplication, and then I'm going to flip the second fraction. All right, you guys, that's it for today. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. Okay, bye.